Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Friday. I hope it finds you well out there. Yeah, it's the weekend. It's pretty exciting. It's been an exciting year. The year of chaos continues. I hope you guys got some fun stuff planned. I'm gonna play a little golf tomorrow. I'm going to be watching Iron Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. Finally going to get it on tonight, the exhibition on Netflix. My wife was the one that said, she said it to me yesterday. I'm like, no, because they were supposed to fight, didn't fight. It seems like they were going to fight forever. Yeah, it's just an exhibition, but I'll say that to this day, Mike Tyson is he's a polarizing figure. And for me, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but this is how I remember back in he was kind of the first like pay-per-view type fighter, and he would knock people out in like 30 seconds. So people were like, you know, at the time, I don't know what pay-per-view even was. It was probably, I don't know, $29, $39, something like that, right? And people were like, oh, forget this. I think at one point, you know, I think they charged like, I don't know, like $80 or something crazy like that. And he knocked the guy out in like 35 seconds, and everyone just stopped paying. Like, I don't want to pay that kind of money to watch them knock somebody out in 30 seconds. And then, of course, he had, right, remember the Robin Givens, the rape thing. And then he had to fight Buster Douglas in Tokyo, in Japan, because people didn't even want to buy the tickets to see him fight her, because the guy's just going to knock a guy out in less than one round. Of course, and then we missed maybe one of the biggest upsets of all time, Buster Douglas taking care of Iron Mike Tyson. Then he bit the ear of Evander Holyfield. I mean, he's a polarizing guy. So my wife and I, we are definitely going to be watching Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. But it's on Netflix. We have Netflix, so I guess it doesn't cost it. Well, whatever the Netflix thing is. But Jason, another thing to keep us all distracted with Iron Mike, but it just kind of brought back those memories of really the guy that I think, anyway, probably started the pay-per-view craze.
Yeah, I just remember it was the late 80s. I was a George Foreman fan. I actually didn't really get into boxing until George Foreman made his comeback. I wasn't really into boxing. I was always into football. And I always thought, why doesn't Tyson want to fight this guy? So I was always, he's ducking. And then, of course, Tyson went to jail, and Evander Holyfield became the champion, right?
Yeah.
And then Evander Holyfield thought, well, I can beat the old man, and it'll be a big payoff because George Foreman was starting to do his George Foreman grill and decision. But I remember Holyfield saying in the 10th round he got hit so hard by Foreman that he thought all the teeth fell out of his head. Foreman take on Tyson, and I don't think the Tyson people really wanted anything to do with that.
Yeah, George Foreman, another one of those interesting figures in boxing. He really wasn't the guy, he not very well liked when he right, and then lost that fight, then disappeared really off the landscape of boxing, and then when he came back as an old man, wildly popular and became heavyweight champion there for a while. And everybody said the same thing, right? That nobody hit harder than that guy, including Mike Tyson. Because that's kind of, Mike Tyson was kind of known as our extremely hard puncher, kind of like George Foreman. And then, it's kind of funny, right? George made most of his money selling those grills, right? The George Foreman grill.
He did become champion at 45, so, Tyson at 58, and this is 30 years later. The human body is more understood for training, so it doesn't make – it makes a little bit of sense, doesn't it? If Foreman could win at 45, knocked out undefeated champion Michael Moore, the southpaw, if he could do that at 45, Tyson should do well, I guess.
And let's not forget, he was a lover of pigeons. Right? Jason's dad, Elmer, was a big pigeon guy. Remember Mike Tyson in New York? He'd have his pigeons. And your mom just texted me, by the way, that. So I forgot all about it.
Yeah, Tyson friended my dad on wherever, Facebook or whatever it was. So, my dad is a friend of Tyson because of the pigeons.
Oh, crazy, right? So, anyway, that concludes our sports for the day. 800-951-0592. That is our toll-free number. Gold and silver, the physical delivery of it is what we do. AllAmericanGold.com is the website to keep you in the know. And it's a crazy week. RFK getting the nominee for Health and Human Services. We'll see how I love it. Say what you want, because there's a bunch of picks I don't like. There's a bunch of picks that I love. It is definitely a shakeup of things. We'll see how many of them actually get confirmed and how that process is going to work on the political side. But when we get back, we had some economic data. We heard from Jay Powell. We have an update on the debt markets and what Jamie Dimon is saying again. All that and more coming up. Picture Radio News Hour here on this Friday. Joe and Jason, a quick look in at the markets here. The Dow is down 275. The S&P's down 68. The Nasdaq's down 367. The 10-year note right now, 446. It got to 4.5, just over 4.503 very briefly about 3 hours ago. But has been, this is about the lowest it's been all day. We'll keep watching here. I'm going to give you another number. Obviously, a close above 4.5 is going to be a technical thing. But if we get through 470, then really I think 468, 468. Then we've just got to brace yourself for 5% and hope that it stops there. But we'll continue to watch. Oil is down today. Gold is up. So here we go. Have we found the bottom in the gold market here? We needed a correction. All of us did. Listen, we needed one. We got one. Is it done here? Because this would be a day today with the bond yields being hitting newer highs, at least recent new highs, that gold would be down. It's up right now, up $5.50, 25.71. Silver's up today, just below $30.50. Crypto hanging around that, right around 89,000 as we continue to watch that trade as well. Get diversified here. Interesting comments from Jay Powell yesterday. Not such great comments out of Jamie Dimon yesterday. And I'll say this. If I'm going to pick between, am I going to believe what Jay Powell says or am I going to believe what Jamie Dimon says? I'm Jamie Dimon. partly because I don't think Jay Powell really has the ability, the stones, the cojones, if you will, to actually tell the truth. Right? It's kind of his job to lie, right? That's kind of almost like a job of the Fed. You know, we always talked about, why can't we understand? Remember Alan Greenspan? No one can even understand what the guy said. Like, I was looking words up. I'm like, well, what does that word mean? And then I'd look up the word, what it meant, right? I'm like, okay, what was he trying? That was what probably made him great. Jay Powell, not as good at doing that, right? He's kind of a plain talker. But either way, be smart here. Add to your gold and silver holdings. Those of you out there, you got way too much money in your banks. You got these huge IRAs out there. Put some of that to work in a precious metals IRA. We can help you do that. You know that we've been doing a lot of them lately. And then check out our friends over at YRefi. Why? Why should I check them out? Well, you're going to get up to 10.25% fixed rate of return. What does that mean? That means it doesn't change. Every month, it's the same. You know exactly what you're going to get every single month. Here's the cool part. You can use it as income. By the way, according to the Social Security Department, boy, look out. They're now saying that the average married couple, their Social Security check only lasts 19 days. Well, here's the problem. Even the shortest month's got 28. And every 4 or 7 years, I forget. Is it every 4 years? They get 29, something, whatever leap year is, right? But all the other months, listen, they either go 30 or 31. Do the math. 19, 30. Yeah, that doesn't work. You can use this as income. Right? That's not a bad deal. Right? You can compound it. You can do whatever you choose. They don't charge fees. It actually helps people, which is pretty cool. And it's not correlated to Wall Street. So if Jamie Dimon ends up being right and we got this big correction coming, it's going to be a really good place to be. And let's face it, hey, even if it's Wall Street kind of eggs in there, you're still getting up to 10.25%. Check them out. InvestYRefi.com. That's the word invest, the letter Y, REFY.com. Or just call them at 888 YRefi 24 888-973-3924. So let's get right to it. So we did have retail sales today. Retail sales, they were okay. Kind of a mixed bag. Very, very heavily adjusted. So it's almost like, I don't know. It is what it is. Let's go through the numbers. The headline number up 0.4. They were expecting 0.3, so a little stronger. Core retail sales, that's ex autos, ex gas. That was only up 0.1. That was worse than expected. The control group, now this is it's such nonsensical. This is what they use for GDP, this quote-unquote control group. I mean, how does that work? Who knows, right? They figured out a way that somehow this is best. That one missed by the most. It was actually down 0.1 instead of up 0.3. They did have big upward revisions to the September number. But, Jason, overall, I think that it was a little, depending on what you wanted, you got it, right? If you want rate cuts, you got it with that core number and the control number. If you're saying it easy, you look at the upward revisions to September, and you can say, okay, well, it's still, the consumer's still doing well out there. But that was really the big piece of economic data out on the retail side of things, what the consumer is. And on top of it, obviously, guess what went up with it? Credit card debt. We had a new all-time record high on credit card debt. So, Jason, the consumer, they're spending still, but more and more of them got to go to the plastic.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're coming into the silly season, right? Christmas and shopping, and so squeeze out a little consumerism more than they would the rest of the year. So Thanksgiving's 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks away. So I'm guessing whatever is left in the spigot will be drained out before the end of Christmas, and well, just in time for next year and the new administration and that budget. We got that budget that come in March and April. The debt ceiling, going to hit the debt ceiling. All that is coming, and it's just looming large, isn't it, Joe? The things economically that we've been looking at, especially just since the last 3 years. Just look at what's happened the last 3 years. It's all leading to this event that we're waiting for, which is a huge change.
Yeah, and so we're watching what is going to be happening here with that, right? Because that's going to be one of those things. If the consumer's tapped out, it's going to really affect when Trump comes in. We'll wait and see. Jay Powell yesterday, he was talking yesterday, and he warned the Fed is in quote no hurry to cut rates. Now you can believe that or not, because it looks like they're in a hurry. But he said inflation's on a bumpy path. So, Jason, a little change of tune there, right? Last week, I'm not really concerned. Inflation's trending the right way. Yesterday, all of a sudden now, it's a bumpy path. If the data lets us go slower, it would be the right thing to do. So is there going to be a rate cut in December? They're saying, it's 50-50, but this is an old one, right? Jay Powell once again using the data thing to drive policy. And this is the problem with Jay Powell. All the data they get is in the rearview mirror. That's not the data going forward. We need them looking forward. Unfortunately, all he does is look backwards, which I think is a huge, huge problem. Jamie Dimon immediately came out. And actually, here's the funny part. He did this right before Jay Powell made his comments, which leads me to believe Jamie Dimon knew what Jay Powell was going to say. Because here's what Jamie Dimon said. The chance of a soft landing is a lot less than what others think. Now, you can decide who those others are. Is that Jay Powell? Is that Janet Yellen? Is that his banker buddies? Is this Wall Street economist? Maybe it's all. He went on to say, I'm not optimistic that inflation is going away and that it's going away quickly. Well, what does that mean? That means Jamie Dimon is saying the numbers Jay Powell is spewing out are a bunch of garbage. Which, of course, we know that. Right? All of us know that. They actually don't track inflation, but they say they do. That's the problem with the media. That's always been the problem with the media. When we look at why are people so upset politically, it's the media. Because they don't tell us the truth. They literally, well, I'm a left leaner. I'm going to say left leaning stuff. I'm a right leaner. I'm going to do right leaning stuff. I'm the banking cheerleaders. I'm going to say great banking stuff. Just remember, all these stock channels, they're cheerleaders. They are cheerleaders. And why wouldn't there be? It's billionaire this guy, and billionaire that guy, and billionaire this guy. Right? Well, they're going to tell you stuff so they can be even bigger billionaires. He wasn't done, though. Here's the other problem of why inflation won't go away. Growth is the best policy to fix the deficit problem. Oh boy. That one was really twofold, wasn't it? One, he said growth. How do we get growth in America? How have we always gotten growth in America? They just print more money. Right? We're very confident that that's what we're going to see with the Trump administration. Tax cuts, right? Same kind of a thing, right? Well, we'll take less revenues and all that other stuff, and then we're going to spend money here and spend money there. But then the second part of that one, deficit problem. Right? He didn't say deficit. No, he said deficit problem. See, this is the new thing now. Right? We went from, we got to be careful about the debt. And, remember in the late 90s, we got to get a balanced budget. Right? Alan Greenspan with his eyes, so we're going to pay off the debt by 2010. Then it went to, it's okay. Some debt's okay. Just as long as it's just a little bit. Now, where are we at? Deficit problem. By the way, Diamond wasn't done. We'll finish it up when we... 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Friday, wrapping up the week here. So very interesting that and I mean minutes before Jay Powell gave his "we're in no hurry, the road is bumpy," and we're the same old Jay Powell, we're data dependent. Jamie Dimon comes out, says, don't bank on any soft landing. I keep telling you that. That's the biggest thing people are missing. And I feel bad for Trump because it'll be a miracle if this guy can prevent it. The problem is, and Jamie Dimon lays it out, for Trump to prevent it, inflation's going to roar. Inflation is going to roar. Why? Growth is the best policy. Right? So that means spend money. Inflation's not going to go away. Right? This is Jamie Dimon. We got a debt problem. So hopefully whatever Trump does, the GDP goes up more than the debt, right? Let's fingers crossed, please, can we pull it off? Last but not least, the last thing he said, Trump is inheriting inflation. So once again, more than once, saying the numbers you're getting from the Federal Reserve are a lie. That's not accurate. We're really not that close to 2%. And by the way, I think it's going to start going higher. Now, Jason, that does play into maybe Jay Powell losing his nerve a little bit when it comes to rate cuts. But at this point, it's something where, which one do you believe, right? Do you believe Jay Powell or do you believe Jamie Dimon? And I think a message was being sent here by Jamie Dimon. I really do. I think he does not want to go down. Remember the financial crisis? And people were like, 2 weeks before Bear Stearns went under, they were out telling everybody how great their stock was and they got no problems and their debt is great. Why do I feel like Jamie Dimon's like, you're not going to pin this one on me. I'm going to come out here and I'm going to blast everybody with the truth and see if they can handle it. Yeah,
I think Jamie Dimon's been calling it a lot more to what is happening. Honest, I don't know for what exact reason does he. Some of these guys, I told you so when things unravel, but everything he's been saying lately, and the moves he's been making, selling his own stock, is kind of showing that he's of a certain mind frame, and he's going to his bets where he thinks it's happening. He's saying it out loud. I don't know why there's not more guys out there saying it like that, but maybe Jamie Dimon just understands it better than the other billionaires out there, Joe. Yeah, and Tudor Jones, he's back out again today. So remember, he's been warning about rates and now saying he doesn't want to own fixed incomes, which just means he thinks rates are going higher. So when you look at bonds this way. The higher the yields go, the worse your bonds perform. So if you bought a 10-year note at 4%, as an example, if the yield went lower, you're doing good. The higher the yields go, the worse you do. And what Tudor Jones is now saying is, hey, I won't even own fixed income right now. Because in his eyes, he's like, well, why would I buy something at 4.5% when I believe in the next year it's going to be yielding 5.5%, 6%, or 7%? Makes a lot of sense. And this is kind of the, I guess, tagging on to Jamie Dimon's deficit problem. I think there's going to have a day of reckoning that's going to come here. Some are saying the Japan experience, maybe, right? Maybe, deflation and falling interest rates. Did we have that maybe? Remember they had 15 years of zero, and they said that the inflation rate was only 1% and all this other nonsense. I don't know. I guess you could say possibly, but the dollar is used a lot more than the yen ever was, so I don't know if we'll get Japan. I think before we get to Japan, we probably got to go through the inflation, right? And that could make sense, right? Is that the path we're on where we get much higher inflation for a lot longer? And then as Jason said it, when this thing goes, we probably will have a mini dark age, right? Where the debt just got so big and so enormous that we have a period, whether it's 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever it may be, of very, very slow growth, very depressed growth, because you got to remember, what we've been doing really since 1971 in full steam. We've been doing it since the Fed got created, but full steam. When they closed the gold window, said, hey, you can't trade treasuries for gold anymore. The debt was $400 billion. $400 billion. We have months now where the debt is $400 billion in a month. It took us 200 years to get $400 billion worth of debt. And most of that $400 billion came with the creation of the Fed in 1913. Now look at us. Now look at us. And the solution for our growth was what? Spend more money. Spend more money. Spend more money. Now Jamie Dimon's going, hey, forget about the soft landing stuff. We've got, I think Jamie Dimon laid out, we've got two choices here. Create inflation or crash the economy. That's probably the only way he sees it. Pretty accurate deal. Guess what? Both of those situations, gold and silver
do real well. We'll be back after the break. (800-951-0592) Patriot Radio News Hour. Yesterday we ran those $10 Liberties. And as I told you, they're going to be more expensive today. I've got 25 of them still left that will do at $13.75. $13.75. If you buy all that's left of them, $13.65. But like I said, only got 25 left. Silver. No more silver dimes. They were on sale yesterday. I do have some silver quarters, rolls of silver quarters at $240 a roll. I'm going to give you an opportunity here. Silver Eagles. We're going to drop it all the way down to $740 a roll for U.S. Silver Eagles today. $740 for U.S. Silver Eagles. If you buy a case of them, which is 25 rolls, take $5 off, $735 or $18,375 for a case of Silver Eagles today at 800-951-0592. And when we look at how crazy things are, Jamie Dimon saying, please, inflation's not 2%. It's never going to get to 2% unless you really want to crash the economy. This out of Virginia. I hope this never comes to Arizona. I hope it never does. Toll roads. Right? Well, how bad? Come on. It's toll roads. Well, a couple, the Landrys, they were off on a camping trip. And they were going to the Lurie Caverns in early October. They expected to pay some tolls. This was in Virginia. And they have an RV, so they get into the RV, right? A lot of people do the RV thing because it saves you money. Traveling from Fall Church with his wife and his child following in a minivan. They took the I-66 express lanes during peak hours. What does that mean? Well, we were driving during the day, right? Oh, my gosh. Heaven forbid. You know, you don't want to drive in the middle of the night. They were expecting to pay about $30 each way in tolls. To their surprise, when their Easy Pass charges appeared a day later, the toll was $569.50. Obviously, they thought it was a mistake. That can't be right. So they, called up Easy Pass or whatever it was, and they were like, oh, no, we're sorry, but your RV is a 3-axle, and you get charged premiums due to its size. So the $569.50 for the, ready for this, 22-mile round trip. Not only was it accurate, but they said that, hey, by the way, in future, if you drive late at night, it'll be a lot cheaper. But Jason, 22 miles round trip, so he drove 11 miles on the expressway in his RV during the daytime, $569.50.
I mean, wow. Yeah, I don't typically pay for the toll roads. I actually used to use them when the guy that used to give me my papers when I was process serving, he put me on his budget. He has so many people on his thing. It's great, but that's a lot of money. Wow, that's right.
In New York, how about this? A $15 charge was set to go into effect on toll roads there, and now they're saying a $9 charge for most motorists driving into Manhattan, on top of a $15 charge for everybody else. Jason, this is what's going to be happening. You know, we see this happen in a lot of these states that are suffering with financial losses, that they sell the roads, they go to the toll roads, and all of a sudden people that work in Manhattan, now that's an extra $1,500 a year. And not to, I guess not to really make it worse, but they're now saying that the average family is now spending almost $300 a week on groceries, over $1,000 a month. They're now saying that, according to the latest report, cable is now running almost $1,200 a year, and in a lot of places, they're saying that cable can cost up to $1,600 to $2,000 a year in places like San Antonio and the more expensive, bigger city places. No wonder why Jamie Dimon's like, yeah, inflation's not going away. You know, do they factor toll roads into inflation? Or wait, you want to drive at a toll road in the day? What are you, nuts? Right? What are you, a billionaire? Who drives during the day on a toll road? Yeah. How much freedom can you afford? Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the $569. 22 miles. 800-951-0592. The remaining $10 liberties at $13.75. Jump on it. And then silver, U.S. Silver Eagles, $740 a roll. If you buy 24 rolls, that's the case. The Green Monster box, you're going to save $5 a roll, so $735 or $18,375. And then, of course, the rolls of silver quarters, great deal at $240. 800-951-0592. And Jason will continue to watch. Obviously, all eyes are on the bond market, at least with the financial stuff. We've got the political stuff going around, but the 10-year note, we're going to keep watching as this plays out. Jamie Dimon issuing another warning, and really, maybe I'm overreading it, but it sure felt like he was taking a shot at Jay Powell. That he knew what Jay Powell was going to say, and essentially was out there saying, hey, listen, we only have two choices. Forget about a soft landing. Either we decide to not spend, which I don't think he thinks is very likely, because in his comments, he kept talking about inflation. Don't believe what they're telling you. And that right now, he sees that, Jason, as to the debt problem. Hey, we're going to run these massive debts. We better have a lot of inflation, so at least we can say, okay, yeah, we had a $3 trillion budget deficit, but GDP's $30 trillion, right? We had and really, that would be bad. It'd probably have to be more like $35 trillion to keep it where it needs to be. Or we had a $4 trillion deficit, but GDP's $45 trillion. That's going to be extremely inflationary. And I think that's what he's kind of warning everybody. Get ready. That's what's coming.
And it's been built in for a long time. We've had this inflation that's been constant just ever since the Federal Reserve's been here, frankly. But in the last 20 years, you've just seen it, Joe, right? With the low interest policies and the printing and printing and printing, it just seems like every printing cycle gets more severe, and so the inflation is going to have a lot more pressure. And so, yeah, it does feel like the inflation has calmed slightly from when it was really bad about a year or two ago, but it just has this look. I mean, look, they lowered the rates a half a point, and then we got higher inflation. It didn't take no time at all for the inflation to start building off of a half point reduction, right, Joe? Now they've done another quarter point. What are we going to see next month?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, we're getting a break on fuel, on oil, right? That sitting around $70. So that's a lot better than $85, $90, right? So you're getting some of that. But when we look at like the producers, what are the producers telling us? They've been telling us really for like the third straight month in a row, their costs keep going higher. We got another strike, right? We got strikers in Vegas again now, right? We see this all the time. Wages, you got to pay more so people can live. 800-951-0592. Jason and I, we're coming right back with the half empty.